Okay, so let's start. So yesterday we went through job satisfaction, right? So we went through what is the nature of job satisfaction, how to measure job satisfaction, what are the precursors to job satisfaction, and what comes out of job satisfaction. Okay, so today we are going to go through motivation. So motivation, if you see in the OB, motivation is the most important topic. It covers
Yes.
3 units. So it's almost one full block.
Yep.
Okay, and it does have a lot of questions in the question paper. So this is one of the very important topic as far as OB is concerned. Okay, so now to start with, again, motivation is very similarly organized as job satisfaction. Okay, so what we are going to read through, first we are going to read through nature of motivation, what exactly the work motivation is, how, what is the definition of it, what are the various characteristics of it, in general what, how motivation really works. Okay, and then we go through the classification of motivation, what are the different types of motivation, how exactly it is classified, and then goes into the theories of motivation. So there are various types of theories that we are going to learn. Okay, so when we go into theory, now as I said, there are various types of theories. So we are going to go through in the next unit, we are going to go through each of those particular types, and also within that particular type, what exactly different scientists came up with. Okay, so that is exactly what the next chapter is. Fortunately or unfortunately, even block 4 third chapter talks about these motivation theories. Okay, so that's how we are going to read through. So first thing, what exactly the motivation? So we'll go through unit 2, starting with understanding what is the work motivation. So even before understanding what is work motivation, the unit starts with what is work. Okay, so this I am not going to explain. I think neither it is important from the exam point of view, nor any one of us is confused about what is work, right? So basically, it's an activity, it's a human activity, serves several important functions for an individual. Either you work for economic reason or a social reason or a personal fulfillment or some other cause, right? I mean, it is classified as work. So this is the first one is about what is work. So now we are going into the next part. Okay, so what is work motivation? So it is all about the motivation now. Okay, so first thing, so let's go through a few definitions of it, right? So it is a set of energy forces that originate both within ourselves and beyond individuals being to initiate some work related behavior. So we are talking about not general motivation, we are talking about work motivation. So there is an energy which is getting generated within ourselves, which is directing our energy towards the work related behavior and takes the form and direction, intensity, etc., towards that work. That is what is the work motivation that one of the scientists told about, right? So net to net, there are 3 elements in these definitions. So again, like any other psychological concepts, there are various definitions given by various individuals. But what is most important is all these definitions cover 3 main aspects. One, effort. Two, goals. Three, needs. Okay, so what is effort? So basically, when you are actually motivated, your effort really increase. Your effort is much more conditioned towards the exact direction where you want to go, right? And where you want to go, that is what is the goals. So on in which area you are motivated, right? That is exactly what the goal is all about. So without goal, you can't really define or give a direction to the motivation. And what are the needs which are actually really generating this particular motivation? What exactly you are going to achieve out of that goal, and what is your basic need that is going to be fulfilled? So these are the 3 key elements as far as all these definitions are concerned. Okay, so going into the features. Okay, so features of work motivation. So what we are actually saying is there are 4 features of work motivation. So when we are talking about motivation, first thing, obviously motivation will have to get activated. Some of it has to start somewhere, right? And then that is what is the activation of the behavior. So basically you are thinking that, okay, I will have to do that. I'll have to do it. So basically it is the initiation point. The second point is direction. Okay. So, okay, fine. You will have to do that. Okay. So how do you want to do? What exactly you want to do? That is giving the direction to your motivation. That is the second aspect. Persistence of behavior. So yes, you are initiated and you know where to go. You are actually sticking to it. You are just keep doing it till you actually achieve. That is what is the persistence of it. And intensity of it. Basically, you are telling I need to do more harder. I want to desperately achieve. That is the intensity of it. So these are the four features of any motivation that really, happens. Okay. So we talked about the definition. In definition, we talked about three aspects, which is effort, goals, needs. Actually speaking, even features are in a way talking about these three aspects only. First thing is obviously starting the initiation point. This is direction is about goals that we are talking about. Persistence and intensity is more towards the effort, right? So activation, direction, persistence, and intensity of the behavior are the four features as far as the work motivation is concerned. Okay, so now coming to the characteristics of the motivation. So what are the typical things as far as the motivation is concerned? It's an individual psychological phenomena. So basically this is a psychological phenomena. So, and this is something that is going to be exhibited that by that person, whoever is motivated at the workplace, because we are talking about work motivation, right? And so it is something that is under person's control. So it is all controlled by that person. So it is the person who is the sole owner of this particular notification. He or she is the one who is actually generating it or destroying it, whatever it is, right? So obviously behaviors that are influenced work motivation, such as effort expended as far as the rather than random. So basically it is where to exert pressure, where to put effort, where not to put effort. It is all under person's control here, right? That is exactly what it is saying. Work motivation determines person's behavior towards the organizational goal. So it's actually the one which is determining that person's behavior towards the goal. Okay, and it also it describes effort that he is going to put and how willing he is actually to face the obstacles. So whether he is to accomplish that particular goal, how exactly he's going to face those particular obstacles is also it depends on the motivation, right? It enhances both quantity and quality of the work experience. Basically overall, the amount of work that he is going to do or the quality of the work that it is going to do, both are going to be improved because of the motivation. Even though, so this sixth point is the most interesting point, which is often get confused, is motivation is different from performance. Performance and motivation are not same, because performance has got other factors. You need to have skill to do it. If you are motivated, it's not that I'm motivated to actually climb Mount Everest, but I can't do it. I don't have a skill to do that, right? So performance is different from motivation. So I might be motivated. Yes, if I'm motivated, I might actually build my ability gradually over the time. That is a different aspect. But unless and until I build my ability, and also, talking about the task difficulty as well, right? I'm very highly motivated to actually, find something like Einstein did, right? Whether the task is easy, no, it is not easy. Even though I'm motivated, I might or might not be able to achieve it depending upon my ability, right? So there are various aspects as far as the performance is concerned. So motivation and performance are two different things, and it is multifaceted. Okay, so there could be so when we are saying motivation, there could be multiple motivations that would be there for a particular person, right? I might be motivated in doing this job. At the same time, I might be motivated to go to a movie because I want to enjoy with my friends, and I might have an equal motivations towards both. So now both could be in conflict. So there would be a scenarios where multiple motivations interfere and there could be in conflict as well, right? So it is multifaceted. So these are the typical characteristics of motivation. So all these characteristics are something that we very well know. It is more about we remembering the keywords and trying to replicate in case if characteristic of the motivation really, comes into picture, right? So now going to the process. Okay, so what? So it's actually, when we talk about motivation as a process, it really starts with the needs. Basically, where exactly motivation is starting, because you want to, address some of your needs. Maybe you are motivated because I want to buy a BMW car, hence I need to actually do this particular job to earn money, right? So where it is starting, it is starting with either psychological or physiological need that I have. Okay, and then so so now there is a drive towards it. So basically I'm being driven by these needs, so that I elevate these particular needs. So there is a setup which is actually driving towards that particular need. So motivation also is drive is one more aspect which is coming into picture. And now comes the incentive. So once I do this particular thing in this way, then so basically first we talked about needs, what I want to achieve. The second is actually the direction that I am talking about. Doing this is the drive that I am going to actually, that I have to go towards that need. And the third thing is incentive part of it. So basically, once I do this, I'm going to get this. And that is how I'm going to fulfill my need. That is the incentive part of it. Okay, so that is the entire, so these are the three aspects of the process of motivation, right? And then, so now, so we briefly talked about performance here. It's the same aspect which is explained using a model called as Mars model, where there is actually, talk about, so we talked about performance and motivation is different. So now how exactly the performance or motivation, both performance and motivation are related. That is what is the Mars model is all about, right? So basically you have motivation, you have ability, okay, and you have clarity of your role, whatever that you are going to perform, and you are well aware of the situations. All these things will actually drive the results. So performance is the result of motivation plus ability plus what is the clarity that you have about your role, and then what is that particular situational factors which are actually helping you, right? So basically, you might be highly motivated to go for a lecture. Okay, when I talk about, I'm giving an example of situational factor. You are highly motivated to go towards a lecture, and you are capable of understanding what that lecture is going to talk, and you are also clear that what exactly you need to do to actually understand that lecture. But while you are going to that particular lecture, some dog really chased you. You couldn't reach to the class, right? So situation did not favor you, right? So there could be a situational factors that could also affect the final result of it. Okay, so these are the four aspects which actually goes into the individual behavior and the results as such. So that is what is the Mars model, right? So Mars is, M is motivation, A is ability, role, and the situation. Okay, so now comes to the general model of work motivation. Okay, so this diagram within the book is very good. So I'll just take to the diagram to explain this. Yeah. So this is the general theory of work motivation. So this is general model. How exactly? So this is talking about how exactly motivation is worked. So how it works. So it all starts with the need. and there is an environment which is provided to fulfill that need, and that is where the drive starts. So now this drive requires an opportunity, and it also requires resources, and the goals are really, goals, what exactly you are going to get if I am going to do this is also getting cleared. Goals and incentives are getting cleared here, and then you put the effort. So basically it starts from need, where the environment should support that particular need, and then your drive will start. That is where opportunity and resources, goals, incentives will come into picture. Then you will start putting the effort. So in order to start putting the effort itself, all these things are precursors. Once you start putting the effort, and if you have an ability to do that particular thing, it results into performance. So you will perform better. So if you perform better, your rewards will actually flow. If you are rewarded, then your need is satisfied. Now, once need is satisfied, you will have higher needs. So this is like a cycle. So you will correct these needs. So now I achieved, buying a Maruti Alto car. Now I am elevating myself to have a higher need of buying a BMW, right? So basically this gets enforced like this. Now I fulfilled my dream by earning 1 lakh per month as a salary. Right now my expectations increased. Once I get that particular reward, now I want to go towards 2 lakhs. Right? So that's how this cycle really continues, right? Needs supported by environment, and drive starts, opportunity, resources, goals, and intensive incentives flow, and that is where your effort will come into picture. That is into performance, and ability needs to back up, the effort, so that performance is resulted. Rewards will come, and your satisfaction. It will go on like this, right? So this is the general model of work motivation. Okay. So model states that internal needs creates drives that are affected by one's environment. So basically these things, this is just explained, whatever that is there in the diagram. So I think that diagram is a better way of understanding it. I'll put that in wiki. So, but this diagram really talks about what the general model of work motivation is. Okay, so quick recap of what we have learned until now. We talked about what is work. We talked about what is work motivation. We talked about features of work motivation. Basically, features are initiation, direction, persistence, intensity towards it. And then we talked about characteristics of work motivation, right? So various things which are work motivation related aspects. And then we talked about process, and then we went to relationship between motivation and performance, Mars model, and we ended up with general model of work motivation. Okay. So now going into the second leg of it, which is classification of motives at work. So now we understood what motivation is. We understood what is the difference of motivation and performance. We generally understood how the motivation overall model works, right? Needs going into, supported by environment and drives, etc., etc. Now we are actually learning what is the classification of, motives at work. Okay. So now first category is primary and secondary motives. Okay. So now what is primary motives? By the name of it itself, you can actually judge what exactly is the definition of it. Primary motive was my hunger should be met. I should not stay bukha, right? So I should not really, have, hungry, right? Just a moment, 1 minute. I'm just getting a call. Okay, so now we are actually talking about this classification, right? Primary motives. Basic physiological needs is primary motives. That's all. So now you can put whatever examples you want. Now, secondary motive. So these are the motives which are additional to whatever the primary motives are, right? So these are typically the social motives. I mean, either you want greater power, or you want to actually work in the same company as your girlfriend, which is affiliation, or else you want better recognition, or some motive which is not really falling under primary motive, right? So so generally, secondary needs are something which is strongly conditioned by experience, and it varies, right? Because primary motives, as humans, everybody will have those particular primary motives, but secondary is conditioned, or rather tuned by the experience. So as you go, your secondary needs might actually change. So you might not really have the same need as whatever that you had earlier, right? So it varies in type, intensity, and it changes from individual to individual. So nearly, I mean, so, but the thing is, the important point here is, even though we classified primary and secondary, every action that the organization takes, it is going to affect both. So it is going to affect secondary as well. So don't take secondary motives as something which is secondary. Don't really, I mean, management should not really take that as light. So make sure, I mean, they need to understand that any action that they take is going to affect their secondary motive as well. So, so by the name, don't really go as if that secondary motive is something which is unimportant. It is just secondary, but it is not unimportant. Okay, so now the second classification, extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Again, by the name of it, you can actually guess what is extrinsic, what is intrinsic, right? So same classification is there even in job satisfaction, if you remember, right? Anything which is external is extrinsic. That means any tangible reward. So basically, you are getting a salary, which is extrinsic. You are getting a promotion, which is an extrinsic. Intrinsic is something which is internally generated, right? So it could be that you have an affiliation or psychological drive towards, doing a certain thing. I want to actually be a, I want to actually be an employee of a big MNC, right? So I have some intrinsic, there is an association or something which is like coming internal, and I seek that particular enjoyment. I have an interest to do that, right? So that's how the intrinsic motivation really comes into picture. Okay, so so there is a model which is associated with this intrinsic motivation. So basically, when this intrinsic motivation really gets, I mean, experienced or achieved, is when people tend to have choice. So now you are choosing something by yourself, right? And you have a competence. So basically, you are competent to do a particular thing, hence, you are actually going. You think that you can do it better, right? You have meaningfulness. You think that achieving that or doing that really adds value to your life, right? So that is where meaningfulness comes into picture, and progress. You feel that doing that is going to make you progress as a human being or within the job or whatever it is. And these are the aspects which could actually come when an intrinsic motivation is achieved. So this is actually Ken Thomas model of intrinsic motivation. Okay. So so what did we cover? We covered the second part, classification part as well. We covered two types of classification, primary and secondary motives, intrinsic and extrinsic. Very, very easy to remember. Just by name, you can actually replicate whatever that you want as far as this classification is concerned. Okay, so don't worry about this particular, whatever the Ken Thomas model and all. This is not very, very important to replicate within the exam, but anyway, you can easily remember this as well. Okay, so now comes the next part, which is going to spill over to the next unit as well. So this part of this unit talks about how motivation theories developed over time. Okay. But this actually sets a prologue to the next unit that we are going to learn. So how motivation theories came into existence, how the classification of the motivation theories came into existence, right? Net to net, to give you a very short synopsis here and then going into the next unit, right? So motivation theories started in 1920 with drive and reinforcement theories. What is drive and reinforcement theory? Basically, you are saying that, okay, yes, this is the drive that you have and you will get this reward, hence you are motivated. Very simplistically, right? If you do this, you get that. You do these actions, you will get those things. That is what drive and reinforcement theory. That is where it started in 1920. And then it went into scientific management, where, okay, now people started thinking about, okay, fine, how I can improve the motivation. So if I increase the wage, am I going to motivate an employee? Or if I actually do this, how, whether there is any motivation that I can generate. So there is a scientific management techniques that came into existence. Okay. So, and third, so after that, so human relation movement started, where it's not just the reward, it's not just the salary that you get, it is also the people whom you work with will influence your behavior. It will motivate you. If you think that your leader or a manager is something who is good, you will have a better motivation towards work. So there is an experiment that is conducted by Mayo to actually experiment that human relationship is good. So basically what he did is, in one of the factories, he started giving employees substandard lighting conditions and work conditions. Basically, he started altering the factory conditions and he made it worse. He took two batches, and for one batch he made it worse. And what he concluded is, it didn't affect the employees at all. The motivation remained the same. Then he understood that it is the manager who is actually making them motivated. It's not those conditions. So that is how he came to conclusion that human relations are good. So these three, whatever that I talked about, is general gyan. There is nothing that is going to come in the exam. It started with drive reinforcement and scientific management, human relation movement. So now comes the important aspect. Okay. So, so now theories start. So theories does have two main classification. First is need-based content model. Second, process-oriented theories. These are two main classifications. So now what this classification is? First set of theories talk about what creates motivation. What are the factors of a motivation? Okay, so now, so if somebody have to actually generate motivation, what are the factors? That is what is content models talking about. What process-oriented talks about is, forget about what. You think about how to generate motivation. What you need to do to actually generate motivation. What is the root cause of it? I don't care. That is process-oriented theories. So these are two types of theories. There are multiple theories that are content theory, the content model theories are there. There are multiple process-oriented theories are there. Okay. So these are the two important classifications as far as these theories are concerned. Okay. So now cognitive theory is just a central part of process theory itself. So it doesn't really classify as something as a separate classification. So it is like, I mean, so it is like to understand how thought process really works, how the behavior really works. So you can actually say this as something which is a basis for the process theories. So cognitive theory forms the basis for the process theory. So all these process theories really can be classified as the cognitive theory as well. So now that is about the types of theory, right? Importance of motivation in the organization. Why motivation is important? I don't think we need to actually talk about this. Every one of us know actually why motivation is important. These are the 5 points if you want to remember, right? So now we finished unit 1. So we went through nature of work motivation. We talked about the definition of it. And then we talked about primary, secondary. We talked about intrinsic, extrinsic. And then we went through the various classification of the motivation theories. There are 2 main classes, which is content model and which is process theories. Okay, so now we are going into the theories itself. Okay. So now we are going to go through first content theory. As I said, content theory is mainly concentrating on what exactly are the needs, what are the factors of a motivation, right? So now if you see, there are multiple theories under content theory. First, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Adler's ERG theory, Hertzberg motivator hygiene theory, McLeod's learned needs theory, job characteristic model. So these are the types of content theories. Similarly, process theories does have few more types. Vroom's expectancy theory, equity theory, goal setting theory. So apart from process theory, there is one more called as a reinforcement theory. So apart from content theories, process theories, reinforcement theory is also there, which is concentrating on outcomes of outcomes of the motivation. So basically, here we are talking about what creates the motivation, what are the factors. Here we are talking about how to create the motivation. Now, the last part which talks about, okay, forget about motivation. What you are going to achieve when they are motivated. Let people achieve that. Okay, I don't care, even motivation is just an intermediate thing. That is what is the reinforcement theory. So this actually talks about the outcome of it, right? So now going into one by one theory. First, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this is the theory which I think most of us really would have gone through previously. So every theory follows certain thing, right? I mean, basically there is a structure in which we are going to learn. First, we are going to learn what this theory is about. Second, we are going to learn generally what are the criticisms of that particular theory. Basically, what are the shortcomings of that particular theory. So like that, for every theory, we have what is theory and what are the problems with that particular theory. Right? Now we have Maslow's theory. Maslow talks about hierarchy of needs. So basically what he says is there are actually 5 hierarchies where people will move from lower hierarchy to the upper. So basic hierarchy, basic needs are physiological needs. Once they are met, we go into safety needs. Once safety needs are met, we go into love and belonging, where friendship, intimacy, other things will actually start. And then we go to esteem. So now we have friendship, we have everything. Now we want status. We want self-respect, self-esteem. And then goes to self-actualization, which is the highest, where you are actually being the best, of whatever that you wanted, right? So this is how one needs to actually go through. So we are going to actually, this is mainly concentrating on the needs part of it, right? So this is like hierarchy of needs that we are talking about. So it goes from physiological to safety to love, esteem, self-actualization. So let me know if it requires more explanation. I thought Maslow's theory is one of the theories that every one of us know. Okay. So basically it says that if somebody's physiological needs are not met, he will not think about safety. Once it is met, then he will start thinking about safety. Once safety is met, he starts thinking about love. It actually goes up the hierarchy as it grows, right? So now what is the criticism? around it, right? So basically, he viewed satisfaction as the main motivational outcome of the behavior. Okay. So job satisfaction does not necessarily lead to improved work performance. So he completely ignored the performance part of it. So he didn't cover anything related to performance. Okay. So he mainly concentrated on satisfaction, satisfying the needs, right? So, and one more thing is, yes, gratification of one need doesn't necessarily lead to the increased motivation. Okay. So he can't really move up the chain. Even though this need is met, he can't really move to the safety need. So satisfying this need doesn't give enough to actually go to the next level. So Maslow doesn't talk about how to move up the level. So he doesn't talk about that particular aspect. The other thing is, so basically there is an individual differences, and there is these needs change rapidly, and sometimes you might really get downgraded as well. So this rapid change in the needs is something that Maslow doesn't really talk about. Okay, so these are the three different criticism as far as Maslow is concerned. Maslow's hierarchy of need is concerned. Then positives of it is more holistic approach, one of the most popular one, right? It actually talks about that social dynamics, how exactly social dynamics really work on the whole. Okay, and it mainly concentrate on strengths. So not exactly what you are missing, you rather pick strength by strength to actually move up the ladder. So it is more positive in nature. So that is what is the Maslow. So now we completed one of the content theory, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is talking about, you know, from physiological to the top five different needs. Okay, so now we are going to move to the next theory, which is Alderfer's ERG theory. Okay, so this is nothing but it's an extension on top of Maslow's theory. Okay, so now there are five things as far as Maslow is concerned. In the ERG theory, we have only three. So that is the name here, right? One is existence, second is relatedness, the third is growth. So basically what it says is this physiological and safety are main existential factors. Everybody needs these things to exist. Then relatedness comes into picture, where you are talking about the social and self-esteem related part to some extent, and then growth really comes into picture. So instead of having multiple levels, he is talking about three different things, which is called as the ERG model, right? Existence, relatedness, and growth. The name itself does have the hint for these particular three factors. Okay. So in this model, unlike Maslow, it doesn't really assume that it is like moving up one by one level. So he doesn't say that individuals are going to move up like this, like a ladder. Maslow talks about moving up the ladder. ERG says that all the three could actually coexist at the same time. You might have little bit of need related to existence. You might have like little more on the relatedness, and you have a little on growth. So all the three could actually be existing in an individual at the same time. So it is not like a ladder where you first do this, then only this will start. At any point of time, all the three could coexist. But it depends in terms of what is the intensity all these three might really have, individual to individual, but it is not like a ladder. Okay. So basically, he also talks about sometimes you would actually go back and forth, and these things would actually change. So he also talks about the dynamic nature of it, which Maslow doesn't really talk about. Okay. And he also says that this growth part is something which is unlimited. So it's not like in the peak it is going to end. This growth will go on. There is no end to it. You just can't be satisfied, and at one point of time you can't really become a Buddha and say that, okay, yeah, that's all life. I achieved everything. No, that is not going to happen is what ERG says. So it is an unlimited one where it could actually go extend, and this will go on as far as the growth part is concerned. That is what is the ERG theory. Okay, now we completed ERG theory as well. Okay, now comes Hertzberg's motivator and hygiene theory. So this is again concentrating on needs. So here we talked about 3, right? So now Hertzberg comes and says that I don't even require 3, I require 2. That's all. So now he further, so Maslow said 5. ERG told that no, 5 is too much, 3. Now Hertzberg said, and he said that no, 3 is too much, let's keep it 2. What are those 2? One is motivating factor. The other is hygiene factor. Okay. So now what is motivation factor? What is hygiene factor? Motivation factor are the ones which is going to take your satisfaction to the next level. Right? So in this case, the growth factor that you are talking about, and to some extent relatedness, are something which will fall under these motivators. Basically, these are the factors which are going to increase your motivation. For example, you have a challenging work. You are more motivated to work. You are going to get recognition. You are more motivated to work. It is going to increase your motivation. Right? You have opportunities to grow. It is going to increase your motivation. Now, what is hygiene factor? Hygiene factors are the ones which needs to be met to reduce the dissatisfaction. So it is like these are the factors which will reduce the dissatisfaction. Understand the difference. One is increasing the satisfaction, the other is reducing the dissatisfaction. There is a thin line of difference here. So basically, you will not say that these are my basic needs, but you will say that if my pay is not good, what is the point in having meaningful work? Even though I have meaningful work, my pay could actually increase my dissatisfaction. Maybe that is not your sole motivation, but it is the one which is going to actually increase your dissatisfaction if it is not met. It is, you don't have job security. This is a basic hygiene factor. Every job needs to provide that particular security. Otherwise, you are going to have that dissatisfaction. So these are basic hygiene factors that somebody will have to meet to reduce the dissatisfaction. These are the factors that could actually increase your motivation. So that's what it is, right? So net to net, what you are saying is if you have high motivation, plus you have high hygiene as well, then you are extremely satisfied. You have high motivation, but little bit of low on hygiene factor. You're kind of okay, satisfied, but not that high satisfaction. Okay. You have low motivation. That means you don't have opportunities. You have challenging work, etc., etc. But your hygiene factor is very, very good. You are neutral. You're not motivated, but you're not demotivated. You're neutral. So now comes low motivation and low hygiene. You're like, your motivation is completely down. It's in reverse. Right? So now that is what is the Heisberg's motivation hygiene theory. We talked about Maslow's 5 needs, and now we are talking about, we talked about ERG, which is just 3, and now we are talking about Hertzberg, which is just 2, motivating hygiene. If you see that hygiene factors comes here, basic existence. Motivation factors comes here on the top. So it is again mapping to the same needs where it is just divided this entire triangle into 2 pieces. One is motivation factors and these other is hygiene factor. Okay. So now what are the shortcomings of it? Okay. So basically this is not something which you can universally apply. What this means is basically Hertzberg has got only those white collar job employees who are like managers, professionals and all those stuff. If you go into blue collar employees, maybe this theory might not really work. Okay. So it also reduces. So these hygiene factors, some hygiene factors might be a motivational factors as well. So it reduces emphasis on it. So somebody is motivated to become a lakpati or crorepati nowadays. Lakpati doesn't have any value now, right? So somebody wants to become a crorepati, he is more interested in pay. His motivation is on pay only. But here, according to Hertzberg, pay is a hygiene factor, not a motivational factor, right? So that is the problem with it. Okay, model is reporting to self-report methodology. So, see, basically, it it is an outcome of, I mean, personal tendencies and also the external environment. So, the how exactly these factors would fit into these two things depends on various other things which are in and around that particular person, right? So that is exactly it depends, it varies from person to person. Okay, so and it also has got no distinction between effects of the two major factors, but outlines only general tendencies. So what are the effects? Basically, we generally talked about, yes, high motivation, low motivation. He doesn't really talk about individual things as an effect, right? So basically how these particular factors are going to affect is not detailedly thought about. That's the problem with this Hertzberg motivator hygiene theory. Okay. So now we are moving to the last, I think, last of the content theories. Okay. So in the content, there is one more, job characteristics as well. We are talking about McClelland's learned needs theory. So again, this is based on the needs. So what it says is, so now there are actually three types of motivational aspects which are there for every person as a need. Okay, so this is entirely different from Maslow's. The earlier three are somehow related to Maslow's. This one is something which he thought in a different way. He says that some people are very, very highly motivated towards achievement. They want to achieve something. Some people want to have interpersonal relationships. So they are highly motivated because of affiliation, right? So basically, I am more interested in, let's say, working in my hometown because I have more friends. My motivation towards joining a company or doing a work is to actually remain there and have my friends gang in and around, right? So it is related to affiliation. So some people are highly motivated because of power. These are the three main aspects. And so every person will have combination of these three. There could be some achievement, some affiliation, some power in different quantities. So basically, McClelland says that these are the three things, three drives or three need types that everybody will have, in them. And some people will have some aspects dominant. Some people are more affiliated towards power. Some people are more towards affiliation. And he also talks about who will become, like, for example, he says that one who is more, to give you an example, right? One who is more interested towards power are tend to be good managers. So he does have certain theories in terms of, he says that if you are power hungry, then probably you might actually be a good manager because you tend to take the jobs to control everyone. Okay. So similarly, when you have affiliation, you might be a good communicator and you might really have job which is much more having an interaction with people, like event management or something like that, which could actually drive towards that interpersonal relationship. So depending upon which is your dominant trait, you might be good at certain things, you might be low at certain things, right? So for example, need for an achievement. So you have a very high drive of must win at any cost. So you are like an achiever. So most of the tech savvy individual performers might actually fall into this need for achievement. They have this tendency more. Okay. So, and obviously having this particular trait more would also create fear for failure It avoids responsibility. You don't want to take a job because you fear for failure. These are the negative parts of it. So similarly, for power, there is a high part, there is a low part. For affiliation, there is a high part, there is a low part. Okay. So these things are like self-explanatory. So net to net, what we are actually saying is these are the three different aspects of the motivation theory, where you are talking about achievement, affiliation, power, and you can have combinations of all these things together. Okay. That's about the McClelland's human motivation theory. Okay, so now, so this is some example of whatever that I was actually talking about, right? So people who does have high affiliation might actually like decision-making positions which could affect others, maybe recruitment or something like that, right? So these might have more affiliation towards managerial aspects, right? So when it comes to power, there are two types of power that, I mean, there are two types of people again within the power as well. One, people who like personal power. So I am empowered, so I like it. I am being like superior. Some people might like the power of helping others. Basically, yes, you are in a position where you could actually help others. That is socialized power. So you have personalized power, you have socialized power. Okay. So now the last of the content theories, which is job characteristic model. Okay. So now this is a very, very simple theory. What it says is every outcome. So ultimately, you have like motivation, which is resulting into certain outcomes, right? When you have motivation, so basically, what exactly is triggering it? So the core, for example, you have a skill, you know the task, you know the significance of the task, then you will go through the psychological state of that meaningfulness of the work. If you don't have a skill, you don't know the task, you don't know the significance of it, this meaningfulness of work will not come into picture, right? So this, in order to get that psychological state to think, see, we talked about, in order to get motivated, you really require that meaningful nature. Job characteristic model says that in order to get that meaningfulness of work, you need these three. Then only it could actually result into high motivation. Similarly, if you have autonomy, that means you have choice to choose. Okay, then you will get responsibility. So you will have the responsibility of the outcome only when you are having the autonomy. Similarly, if you have feedback from the job, then only you will get a knowledge of actual results. If you have three these psychological states, that is, you know the meaningful work, you know that this work is meaningful, you also have the responsibility of doing it, and you have knowledge of actual what exactly that is going to come out of it, then these outcomes will follow. Okay, so basically this is like moving from the characteristic to a psychological states, and then finally resulting into the outcome. Okay, and this is moderated by obviously knowledge, skill, growth, needs, strength, context, satisfaction, and also, so basically every individual might have a different knowledge, hence the skill variety would actually depend on his knowledge or skill or whatever it is, right? So these are like the individual differences that every person might have. So this will have an effect on overall how exactly you're going to move towards the outcomes. Okay, so this is what is the job characteristics model. Okay, so now I take basically a brief pause before entering into the next thing. So basically, one more thing about job characteristic model is, so it does have a way to identify what is the motivation score. So job characteristic model talks about how to calculate the motivating potential score. So skill variety plus task identity plus star significance divided by 3 into autonomy into feedback. Whatever that you are actually seeing here, it is all put into a formula to say that, okay, how it would actually turn out into the motivation. So this is like the way to calculate the motivational potential score. That is exactly what this job characteristic model came out with. Okay. So before going into process theories, I'll take a brief pause and talk about these things again, just so that we have a quick recap. Maslow's hierarchy theory, 5 needs, moving up the ladder. ERG theory, no 5, only 3. You can have mix of those particular 3s, which is existence, relatedness, and growth, right? And then Hertzberg said, no, 3, only 2. You have an hygiene or motivating factor. Now comes McClelland's, who says that, okay, forget about all these needs, hierarchies and all. So there are 3 main types of needs, which is achievement, affliction, and power. And you will have combination of it. You have dominant trait. Depending on the dominant trait, you could have various things that could be observed. And job characteristic model talks about where it actually starts, psychological process in it, and what are the outcomes. And there is a score which is called as motivational potential score, which you can calculate using that. That's all about content theories. Okay. Brief pause. Any doubts, or everybody slept, or whatever it is, and then we can move towards the process theories.
We're very much awake. Praveen, go ahead.
Me too.
You can go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So now go to process theories. Okay. So like content theories, there are multiple process theories. Content theories, or as I talked about, talks about root causes of motivation. What causes motivation? That is content theory. Now process theory says, forget about what causes. How it is done. That is what is the process theory. Okay. So now first comes Vroom's expectancy theory. Okay. So what it talks. Okay. So basically, what are expectancy? Okay. So what we believe that more and more we put work, more and more we put effort, basically, on a particular task, we expect our greater performance, right? And as we perform well, we think that we will get a reward. So this is how our thought process is on the whole, from the motivation point of view. First thing is our expectation. If you do this, I will do it better. If I do it better, I will get reward. Now the last part, which is, if I get this reward, I'll be happy. I have more value for this reward. I'll be this much happy, right? I mean, if I do this, I'll get some 1 crore. Or if I do this, I'll perform this in a better way. If I perform this, I'll get some 1 crore reward. And if I get 1 crore reward, I'll buy a villa. And this villa means a lot as far as my life is concerned. That is balance. So it starts with expectancy, instrumentality, and balance. Okay. This is what is Vroom's expectancy theory. So it does have a formula which he talks about, where expectancy into instrumentality into balance equal to motivation. All these 3 coexist. Okay. And this is a multiplicative function of all these 3. What it means is, let's say I know that if I do this job, I can perform better. I also know that if I perform this, I'm going to get reward. And somebody said that this reward is going to be 100 rupees. Will I be motivated to do that? because my value for that particular reward is less. My motivation is brought down, right? So it is multiplication factor. Even though I know these two aspects very well, my value is less. So entire motivation came down because of it. Okay, so now if I think that even if I perform well, lady, I know that, yeah, even if I perform well, I'm not going to get promotion because I don't have that particular role maturity, or I don't trust that my company is going to give that particular role, then my instrumentality is missing. So I know if I put effort, I can perform well. But if I perform well, I don't believe that I'm going to get the reward. Then also my motivation will go down, right? So each factor would result as a multiplicative factor to the end motivation. Are you getting my point? So this is like all the three components are required and they actually multiply by themselves. If one component becomes zero, then entire your motivation becomes zero. Okay? That is what is Vroom's expectancy theory. Okay, so now Portal and Lawler, he improvised this Vroom theory. He told that I'll tell this Vroom theory in a better way. Okay. So what he told is, yes, performance actually leads to satisfaction. The reward system is effective. Yes. Basically, we know that if the rewards are better, if I'm going to perform well, I'm going to be rewarded. But in order to perform better, there are factors which are there, which is like skills and abilities, and also role perception. So I need to be clear on my role. Then only performance will come into picture. Remember that general model for motivation, where it is not just about the motivation, it is also motivation doesn't really result into performance. Performance does have the other factors. So Portal and Law extended Vroom's theory to bring these factors into picture, which is skills, abilities, and role perceptions, which are going to be playing the part to do this perform well. Then only it will result into reward. Okay. So therefore, according to this particular model, reward structure in an organization, they determine how motivated people will be to perform. Okay, so rewards are effectively linked to the performance through role clarity and clearly defined targets. Motivation will follow as people know what is expected to them. So basically, reward model needs to be carefully orchestrated or carefully designed to drive people towards this particular high performance. Okay, so that is exactly what Porter and Lawler extended on Vrooms. Otherwise, it is same concept, expectancy, instrumentality, and balance. So these are the additional points that he brought in. One point is he told that there are factors, that is skills, abilities, and role perception. So you need, and you also require some kind of reward structure within the organization so that people can be motivated in the right direction, right? And this reward structure needs to be linked with the performance aspect of it. In order to improve the performance, you need to give clarity on the roles and you need to train people to improve their abilities. So in order to actually, so what he's saying is, in a way, he's saying that in order to motivate people, you need to conduct trainings. You need to make them skilled. If they are not skilled, down the line, they will become demotivated. So they might not know now. If they are low skilled, their rewards will not come. When their rewards stopped, then this particular factor really is affected. So their motivation will come down. So in order to improve their chances to get more rewards, you need to improve their performance. In order to improve their performance, what do you need to do? It's not just about you declaring the reward system. You should also actually clearly tell that this is the target. And in order to achieve the target, these are the trainings that you will have to do, or this is how you need to upskill, and all those things need to be provided. Okay. So now what are the managerial implication of Vroom theory? So what he says is increasing the effort and performance, increasing the effort. So basically, you know, these are like guidance to the manager. So increasing the effort will actually improve the performance. So you need to actually make sure that people really spend right amount of effort to actually stay motivated. So increasing the performance will improve the outcomes. So as I said, as you actually improve the performance of an employee, it will improve the chances of they getting the outcomes. When their outcomes really increase, obviously, balances are met, hence they will be motivated. So this is how the manager should actually, make sure that they actually maintain the motivational environment, right? So evaluation, what are the shortcomings? Expectancy theory remains one of the better theories for predicting work, effort, and motivation. The theory seems to ignore the role of emotion in employee behavior. So there is no room for emotion in this particular theory. So that is exactly what is the missing point as far as this theory is concerned. Okay, so what did we learn? Vroom theory, expectancy, instrumentality, valence, and now we are going to equity theory. So equity theory talks about that everybody in their mind has a concept of evaluating their outcomes based on the inputs that you're going to give. If you spend 12 hours every day and get some XYZ salary out of it, you weigh in your brain that, okay, yes, with putting this much of effort, I'm not getting salary. So I'll be all the time demotivated, right? But now here the kick is, every individual doesn't really think about just themselves. How they are going to evaluate is in comparison with others. So generally what happens is, I'm not going to think that I put 12 hours and I got 50,000 as my salary. I can't really judge whether 50,000 is good enough for 12 hours or not. How I will judge is, I will see my friend. He is doing the same job. He is doing for 8 hours and he is getting 1 lakh salary. After seeing this, I will come to conclusion saying that, boss, I am putting so much effort, I am not getting the output. If my friend, instead of I am putting 12 hours, he puts 14 hours and he gets only 40,000, lesser than me, then I'll feel happy. I'll feel that as if I got greater rewards. So generally, I compare with others. We compare with others and then evaluate whether my input and output ratio is good or bad. That is what is the equity theory talks about. Okay, so there are two types of inequity that we are talking about. So if I judge that I am not really at par, two ways. One is under rewarded. Basically, I might think that I am spending more effort, but I am not getting reward. Or over rewarded. I might be happy thinking that I am putting less effort, but still I am getting rewarded. Right? These are two kinds of thing. And there are 4 possible comparisons that I could actually do. Maybe I'm comparing with the same peer or colleague who is doing the same position within the same organization, which is self-inside. Or maybe I can compare with same position, but some other organization, which is self-outside, right? And I can even compare with different position, but same organization. I might say that, boss, my HR always roams around, talks with people. He just just chat here and there, but he earns so much of money, and I actually do coding and from day and night and still earn less. So he is actually a different position altogether, but still I end up comparing it, right? So that is other insight. So the last one is, you not same position, not same org, entirely a different person you are actually comparing. All these 4 types of comparisons are possible. Okay. So how I am going to, so I found that there is an inequity. I will react to it, right? How I will react it? There are 7 ways that I could react. Okay. So I could change the inputs. What it means, I could change the inputs means, Now I determined that my company is not really paying good. I mean, even after putting so much of effort. So what I will do, I will reduce the effort that I put. Instead of putting 12 hours, I start putting 8 hours because I think that company is not rewarding for that 12 hours. Or else I can change the outcome. I will continue to put 12 hours, but I will search for a job which can give 1 lakh salary for me, not 50,000. Right? Or else I change the comparison, others inputs. Basically now I will see in a different way, say that, okay, yeah, I compared, but maybe the effort that he is putting in 8 hours, maybe he is more concentrating on the work. In 12 hours, even though I am putting 12 hours, I am taking 4 times coffee break, etc., etc. The way you compare the inputs, you will change. Or else you will compare the outcomes in a different way. You might actually think, okay, no, that 1 lakh salary, half of it actually goes in tax. In my case, my tax structure is better. So maybe the outcome is one and more or less same. Right? So I'm changing the way that I'm comparing the outcome. Okay. Or else I change the person altogether. I will not compare with this person. I will take another person. Oh, this person is exception. See the other person, he is actually earning less than me or almost like me. Right? This is just a wrong example. That's all. Or else I change my perception altogether. I will see things in a different way. Oh, what salary is? I mean, I don't care about salary. I am doing a better job than this. So I will change the perception altogether. Right? Or else I will just leave the field because I'm just highly demotivated, dissatisfied, pessimistic person. I just leave the work. I will not do that job anymore because I feel that I'm being biased by the society, right? So now types of the equity preferences. Basically, there are 3 types of persons when it comes to comparison. One is benevolent, basically a person who has got lesser expectation. He knows he is being underpaid, but he is happy. Enjoy. Okay. Somebody who is equal sensitive. Basically, he wants himself to be equal to others. Other is entitled. He always thinks that he is actually exceptional. He should get higher than others. So these are the 3 types of people or categories in which the comparison really happens. So it depends on the psychology of the person, right? In which, whether he is benevolent or equity sensitive or entitled. Okay, managerial implication. Obviously, you need to be very cognizant about this particular equity process. You should not underpay. You should not overpay. If you overpay, then imagine that the other people would actually get to know at some point of time, and it is only temporary. Expectations are going to only increase over the time. It is not going to decrease. So you should not overpay as well. You should be honest with your employees and open to reduce this particular equity related challenges. Okay. So this theory does not identify inputs and outcomes. So it only talks about the comparison with the others, but it doesn't really talk what is the input, what is the outcome of it. It is very, very individualistic. Basically, it assumes that people are very selfish in nature. They only think about themselves, right? It accounts for distributive justice. Basically, it results into that, okay, I keep your salary same. So it doesn't really bring that performance, high performers and all those stuff into picture, right? So basically, social justice is what it talks about. And it does not talk about how to restore the equity. So it does not say if there is a equity, there is a mismatch, how to restore, what you need to do to reduce this inequity. It does not talk about. Right? So that is what is the equity theory. So we talked about Vroom's expectation theory. We talked about Porter and Law extension of Vroom. We talked about now equity theory as well. Okay. So now we are talking about goal setting theory. Goal setting theory is very, very simple. As name suggests, It is mainly towards setting the goal, making the clarity, bringing the clarity to the people, and showing them that why this goal is important, and also provide feedback to them like at regular intervals so that they can go towards that goal. Okay. So first thing is showing the goal. Employee should be able to clear that, yes, this is the goal. He should be clear. This is exactly what it means, right? And he should also feel that the goal is challenging. He is interested in towards going towards the goal, and he should get the feedback so that he can actually achieve that goal. So these are the components of goal setting theory. Okay. So one thing which I was not sure is IGNOU's book talk about these 4 components, but rest of the internet talks about these 5 components as far as Lockheed's and Latham's goal setting theory is concerned. Okay. So whether it is 5 or 4, not sure. So basically, what is the difference between this? Clarity, yes, this specificity is there. Challenge is also there. Commitment is a new aspect. Feedback is there. Complexity. So commitment and complexity are 2 different things that are actually coming into picture. Goal acceptance is not there in the internet as such. So I'm not too sure whether IGNOU and internet is talking about the same theory or not, but IGNOU theory talks about these 4 factors, 4 components. Okay. Managerial implications of goal setting theory. Basically, it talks about how important a manager should actually give as far as the goals are concerned, performance evaluation is concerned, etc., etc. That's all the implications as far as the manager is concerned. Evaluation of the theory, it does have basically it does have a significant impact on the performance, and basically it all depends on the task simplicity as well. So what it is also about is, this is an interesting point where the way the goals are perceived or this entire goal setting happens, it is actually culture dependent, it seems. Okay. Western cultures has got a better alignment towards it. Okay. Whereas Eastern cultures doesn't have this particular goal setting very clear, because the point that is given is Eastern cultures are more team cultures. Western cultures are more individual in nature. So it is easy to actually set a goal, go towards the goal from the individual point of view. But when it comes to a group, you are actually setting team goals rather than individual goals. So there is a slight mismatch in the way that you can give the clarity of it, right? So there is a cultural aspect which is also coming into picture. So now comes the last part, okay, which is reinforcement theory. So we completed process theories as well, okay. So quickly go through process theories, Vroom's expectancy theory, those 3 aspects. Porter and Law extension theory, which is talking about getting the skills and other things uplifted so that the performance part is addressed so that they can get a better outcome. Equity theory, comparing with others and making sure that you are actually equal. Goal setting theory, emphasis is all on setting the goal and giving the clarity and going towards it. Now comes to the reinforcement theory, which is the last of this particular unit, where reinforcement, what is reinforcement? It is actually those rewards shaping up, looping back into your motivation. That is what is the rewards, the reinforcement. You are actually reinforcing your behavior by continuously feeding the feedback, right? So this is like modifying the behavior by continuously reinforcing. So there are 4 types of reinforcing that is possible. Okay. One is positive reinforcement. You are motivated to do something. You want to do this presentation because you are highly motivated to actually achieve, or rather, showcase to a wider public on this particular aspect. Let's say, right? You are motivated by yourself. This is positive reinforcement, right? Let's say if my presentation is well received by CEO, I might get a promotion. This is positive reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is, if I don't do this presentation tomorrow well before CEO, my manager is going to give me bashing. I don't want my manager to scold. So I want to avoid that negative reinforcement, basically that scolding. Hence, I do this well. So I am motivated to do this well, but my motivation is coming from the point of view of, I want to avoid this scolding from the manager, right? The third type is punishment. Okay. So basically, it is like I am getting the punishment to it, right? So basically, so there is an so if I do this, I'll get punished. That is what the punishment part of it. Extinction. If I do this, if I don't present this, I'm not going to get this chance at all. I'm going to be extinct. So basically, if I and what also happens is, over the time, if I don't really reinforce in a right way, over the time, people will actually stop doing that particular thing at all. So basically, that entire behavior will get extinct. So the target behavior decreases because there is no reinforcement that follows it. Okay, that is the extinction part of it. So the behavior really get extincts because there is no reinforcement that is going to come. Okay. So now, schedules of reinforcement. So when exactly reinforcement is going to help? So one thing is continuous. Basically, you are going to, whenever you do good job, let's say a person did fix a defect. Every time he fixes a defect, I'm going to give him a prize. This is like continuous. Whenever there is a good thing, I'll reinforce immediately. Okay. The other way is intermittent. So I might actually wait for certain time. Let him fix 10 defects and then I'll give. Or else I will say every quarter I will give a prize to a person who fixed maximum number of defects. So this is intermittent or partial. So it is not continuous, it is rather partial. And what theory says is, this intermittent is a better way of reinforcement when compared to continuous. Because what happens in case of continuous is, you're continuously giving. The moment it is stopped, it actually goes into the negative loop. People will easily get noticed that, okay, yeah, now company really stopped giving for defect fixes. So I will stop doing the defect fixes because earlier I used to get price. Now company stopped it. So it immediately gets into the mind of people that, as far as this reinforcement is extincted, it will have a sudden impact. Whereas intermittent doesn't have the sudden impact. Okay. So intermittent has got multiple classes by itself. One is obviously the dimension is one where either it can be time based or it can be number of events. Okay, and it is having 4 classes where either it is a fixed interval where you are saying that every quarter I am going to give the best developer award, or else I might have a variable interval as well. So I might really give whenever I feel like, but it is like variable. So fixed ratio, variable ratio. So basically, ratio is nothing but number of events. Okay, so same fixed and variable, you can do it for time and also this. Okay. Best way, this is the best way to promote fast learning. Okay, and this is something which is sustainable when compared to the continuous one. So now what are the managerial implications for it? So there is actually, there is organizational modification program which talks about how the behaviors of the people needs to be changed over the time. And according to that particular program, what it says is there are steps, how exactly you're going to reinforce, right? The steps are like, first identify what are the behaviors, what exactly are the critical things. Is defect fixing a critical thing or not for you? To reward defect fix, right? If somebody says defect fixing is nothing, I don't have to reward, then you don't even have to think about how to reward defect fixes. You think about something, let's say innovative ideas. So if somebody generates innovative ideas, then only I will reward. I will not reward them if they fix the defect, right? So identify what are the critical behaviors, and now develop a baseline. So should I give for every defect fix, or should I give after 10 defect fix? What is the baseline that I have, right? And identify what if I actually reinforce, identify behavioral consequences. What if they actually fix these particular defects? Is it going to have an effect on it or not, right? And then develop the plan. So now how you are going to reinforce it, and evaluate your performance impact over the time to check whether your reinforcement is working or not. This is the way that it would actually work as steps as far as overall OB mod program is concerned, right? And evaluation of the reinforcement. So thoughts, feelings, etc. are like basically, overlooked. There is nothing that actually talks about it. So reinforcement is mainly concentrating on reinforcement or rewards kind of a thing. Okay, it also doesn't really care about any thought process, cognitive processes at all. Okay, so it only talks about consequences of the behavior. That is what is the reinforcement theory is concerned. Okay, so with this, we have completed this unit as well. So we covered Maslow's hierarchy need, five needs, ERG theory, extension of Maslow theory, but he reduced it to 3. And then Hertzberg reduced it to 2. McLeod's told that there are 3 things, which is much different from whatever it is. Job characteristics talks about moving from the factors towards psychological process towards the outcome. Then we have moved into process theories. Vroom's theory, Vroom theory talked about right from expectancy to the valence, 3 stages and multiplication factor of it. Equity theory, comparing with the others. Basically, you are comparing with the others. Goal setting theory, how exactly goals are important. Reinforcement theory, which is talking about what are the outcomes, what are the rewards, how we need to actually give those particular things. This is what are the theories about motivation. Theories of motivation. I hope people are still awake.
Very much.
Yes, we are.
So now most interesting factor. Going towards the motivation in organization, block 4, unit 3. One thing that I could say is we already covered this. How? Because this is actually repetition of that unit 2 and unit 3. We already went through primary, secondary motivation. We already went through intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. We already talked about the secondary motives. Okay, there is a concept called as general motives, which is similar to primary motives. But basically, general motives are not really psychological needs, physiological needs, but still you consider it as primary motives, like curiosity. You're more curious. Curiosity is the general nature of everybody, but it is not really something like hunger. So general motives are there with everyone, but they are not really physiological needs. So still they are like primary needs. That is the only aspect which is coming as new in this particular unit. Right? Theories of motivation. We already learned Maslow's. We already learned McLeod's. We learned 2-factor theory of Hertzberg. We learned ERG theory. Okay, this is a new theory that is coming in this particular chapter. McGregor's theory X and theory Y. It is a very, very easy theory. Theory X is nothing but a pessimistic way of dealing people. Theory Y is an optimistic way of dealing with people. Basically, theory X people always think that if I don't monitor, people will run away. I need to control. If I don't monitor somebody doing this particular job, they might do it in a bad way. So here it is more stringent and it is more directed, controlled, the way theory X people really think about it. Theory Y thinks about it in a little more different way. So by default, people wants to do well. I just have to give the direction towards them. I need to give feedback, but I don't have to closely monitor because by default, people are motivated by themselves. That is what theory Y says. Theory X is negative, theory Y is positive. Okay, to remember. Okay. So we also talked about this, how exactly all theories are related to each other. Okay, so Hertzberg theory is nothing but the two factors coming onto the Maslow, right? Even theory X, theory Y talks about first three factors of Maslow, and theory Y talks about the upper two, motivators and satisfactors. Okay. Expectancy theory, Vroom's expectancy theory, we already talked about. Porter-Lawler model, we talked about. Equity theory, we did. Okay, and these are the other small theories which are there, which is attribution theory. Attribution theory is nothing but you tend to attribute every fact, every outcome, or rather everything to a particular factor which is there outside. So what you see is, if somebody is behaving like this, maybe he is from a well-off family, or he is from a poor family, or whatever it is. Somebody is thinking that money is everything. You might think that maybe because of his upbringing or family or some other needs, etc., etc., he might be behaving in that way, right? So you, for every behavior that you see, you associate internal and external factor. Internal factors are his ability, effort, education, and all. External factors are their economic condition, government policies, weather, culture, etc., etc. Okay, so that is what is the attribution theory. Control theory. So basically, control theory states that behavior depends on the degree of control that individual perceive. Basically, if somebody thinks that they are in a better control of life, then they will have high motivation. If somebody feels that lesser control on life, they will actually have a lesser motivation. Okay, agency theory. Agency theory is nothing but this theory name. I don't know what this agency guy was thinking. I named it very badly. Agency is nothing but people who are working. He called them as subordinate employees or agents. They work under a top management. He calls them as principal. So top management, which is managing the workers, are principals, and workers who are working are agents. That is why this is agency theory. Okay, there is a relationship between these two, and agency emerges. So if this management engages the employee, they are better motivated. So if these agents are better controlled by principals, it is better. They will have more motivation, right? So principal does have a role to give that clarity to these particular agents. That's all. This agency theory is one crap theory. Rather, the naming is bad. Could have named it in a better way. And that's all. It completes this unit as well.
Can you please go back to agency theory?
Agency theory?
Yeah. Just lost it.
Agency
so
theory.
What does this talk about? This is like kind of one person controlling all the number
No,
of people.
not one
like
person. Not one person. Top management is the principal. It could be n number of persons who are part of top management.
Can this be a part like what we do contractual hiring for security guards? Kind of? Because they normally come from agency.
No. That is why I was saying this agency word, don't really care about this agency word.
Okay.
So basically, what he says is top management is the principal. Subordinate employees to that top management are agents. Okay. So agency theory talks about only this. There is a relationship between principal and the subordinate employees. Okay. So there is a relationship between top management and subordinate to do some activity. Basically,
So,
that could be any activity.
so
Okay.
it's like employer-employee relationship, nothing much than.
Employer-employee relationship.
They're just
Yes.
calling it agency for no reason.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So there may be a divergence of ideas between principal and the agent. Maybe employees might have different ideas. Okay, and principal might have a different ideas. Okay, so there is a chance that employees may not know clearly what is expected from them. Okay, so it is principal's responsibility to give clarity to their employees so that they stay motivated.
It's like manager and team.
That's it.
Manager is responsible for
That's
the
it.
team's goal clarity and performance.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. So I don't know why we complicated with this word called as agency, but anyway, there is nothing like giving to any external agency kind of a thing.
Okay.
Okay. It could be an external agency or in the same organization. It doesn't talk about anything like that. Okay. So that's all to give a very, very quick recap. Here we learned so many things. What is motivation? What are the main classes of motivation? And then we talked about what is content process oriented theories. Okay. And then we went into each theory, Maslow's, ERG, Hertzberg, McLeod's job characteristic model, Vroom's expectancy theory, equity theory, goal setting theory, reinforcement theory. Okay, and in the other unit, we learned a couple of more theories like this. Right, I think that ends the chapter for motivation. Rather, 3 units as far as the motivation is concerned.